Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 188, part 2. Mike Biseglia.
Or part 1.
But we're going back to the future, Marty. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesiewicz, and we are presented by DraftKings. I say part 2 because as you'll listen to this podcast, Alex and I recorded earlier this morning. This right now is a Wednesday evening. We recorded on Wednesday morning. We've got some great Nets-Knick conversation that we'll get to, which you'll hear as the second half of this episode. But as all of you know, if you're listening to this podcast, or I'm not breaking news to you, and if you are, reach out to us. badweatherfans@gmail.com. Damian Lillard got traded. You know that
we
already.
broke the story. Yes.
Dame got dealt. So, of course, we had to come back on here and redo our open. You'll hear the second half of our conversation, which I'll get to in a minute. But Alex, in tradition, how are you?
I'm good, man. I was hoping the Knicks can get involved in the trade, but now that Drew is over in Portland and they want to dump him also and flip him, maybe flipping is better than dumping. I think they want to flip him because they don't want him there and he doesn't want to be on a rebuilding team. Maybe the Knicks can get involved in this one or the Harden one or whatever. And let's hope the Knicks can slide in there. But the big news is that the Nets were involved and one of the finalists for Dame Lillard, and it came down to them and the Bucks and the Heat, obviously the 3 teams, and not the Knicks. So, Mike, how are you feeling about that?
Well, a couple of things. I want to backtrack on all of it, but I like that you asked me how I'm feeling about that. I do like that.
Yes.
One, the reason that the Nets were in on it wasn't because the Nets had gone to Lillard. Per Lillard's agent, they were like, hey, the Miami Heat are kind of they're pulling a Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Milwaukee and let's go to Brooklyn and let's talk.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, when I heard that, my first reaction wasn't, oh, Nets got one on the Knicks again. I mean that. It was, shit, they had a chance on Lillard, and I'm pro bringing Dame in. I know it's a very mixed topic in the fan base. I am pro bringing Dame in on the Nets, and I can lay out my reasoning why. But that was my first reaction, was like, oh, shit, what was the deal? What was the trade offer? I wonder what it was, and if it was something where Portland ultimately thought they had the better options with the Milwaukee trade, or if the Nets were just like, hey, here's what we can offer, but in real, it was, Ben Simmons and a bag of balls, and it was really nothing much in a trade because of Simmons' contract and then some whatever just to make it work, and they actually didn't want to give up anything. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it all depends on the deal. It just really all depends on the deal. Did I want the Knicks to get Dame? No. But if they would have gotten him for, Randall and a bunch of fillers and some picks, I mean, I don't want to call Knicks players fillers, but Fournier and some other picks and some things, I'll give it a shot. And people are like, I put it on Twitter and people are of course coming at me, you idiot, moron, Brunson and Dame can't play together. And he didn't want the Knicks. He didn't want the Knicks because, they don't have a spot for him. And give me a break. I always say it on this podcast. Fit is for losers. And when people complain about fit, it's for losers and non-talented players and people that don't like each other. It's not if Dame and Brunson wanted to play together and they tried and they figured it out, I'm sure it would work and they would be really, really good. I don't know if they win a championship, but they would be really, really good. Don't give me size. Steph Curry's like 5'2", and don't give me size about players anymore. It doesn't matter. It's not the 90s.
I'll pose this to Knicks fans: Would you have felt better about the series versus the Heat if Damian Lillard was on your team, or would the fit not have been good? Oh, we got Dame versus the Heat. Yeah, but the fit's not there. It won't work. Okay, so we won't play Dame Lillard versus the Miami Heat because you didn't have trouble scoring or having outside shooting. He wouldn't solve any of that bullshit. That's just ridiculous. You get super talented guys at that level,
You
make
get
it
them.
work. Right. Like
Figure it the fuck out. Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks lost a little something on defense.
Okay.
They also just gained one of the greatest shooting scoring guards in the history of the sport's ever seen. And you're pairing him with one of the greatest players in the history of the game with Antetokounmpo. Like, what are you talking about? And their games are so perfectly aligned where they have specialized sets, but what they both do is completely opposite. I mean, they're going to be a fucking nightmare.
And Middleton's going to eat too. Middleton's going to eat. But either way, like back to the Knicks, man, it's like you can't tell me about size and they're too small. Brunson and Dame are too small, but then you're the Knicks having a team full of guards and no backup power forward. Pick a side here, guys. Don't come at me for saying I want talent. You know what I'm saying? Like come at the Knicks organization for having a team that's too small and with no backup and no bigs on the bench. Like I just chill with that. Okay, you don't have to defend everything. I know the offseason is not over. I hope they can still get into a trade and make this team better, but you know what? The Bucks are now the clear favorites in the East, and the Knicks just want to notch down even lower.
Oh, everybody did. Celtics feeling that way. Miami clearly feeling that way. The Sixers who are in limbo feeling that way. For my job, I do a lot of timelines. I actually really enjoy making timelines, but it's a word I'm sick of hearing when it comes to the Nets and now, because if they were to trade for Damian Lillard, it wouldn't work with his timeline and their timeline. The timeline would change when Dame Lillard gets here because Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson aren't in these trades. So when you've got then Dame, Mikal, and Cam, the changing of the timeline is there's other guys available. And unlike the Knicks, the Nets do attract high-level guys. Now, I'm not saying the Nets have the same history. I'm not saying their arena gets as loud. I'm not saying they have as many fans. I'm not saying they're Big Brother. But I will say that they do attract superstar level talent is interested in them for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, right? I can't tell you exactly. They're not the Knicks, but guys like coming here, okay? I think that's pretty apparent. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving worked. That was a failure, but they were still superstars. They still wanted to come here. And Dame Lillard wanted to come here. And if you bring Dame in, you accelerate the timeline because it changes the dynamic of who's coming next. And somebody else would come next. That's not going to happen now. And for all the guys and gals listening that are like, well, you can't part with Nick Claxton because Nick would probably have to be in this deal. We fall in love with our own players to an extent where we think they're better than they really are. It just happens.
They're our guys.
And Nick's a homegrown guy. He was drafted late and he is developed and he's become a really solid player that Net fans hope can develop to be even something greater. You see that Nurkic is in the deal, so he's probably coming to the Nets if this is happening. You're giving up Clax, you're giving up Simmons, and you're giving up more draft picks and somebody like a Cam Thomas, and you're making the deal work. And you're dealing with it. But I don't want to hear from people saying, well, I can't, give up Nick Claxton. You'll hear the same Net fans bitch that this team has no rebounding. Right? Just go get yourself a 7-footer from Portland. He's coming here. That changes all of that. That guy, when you play DraftKings every day, that's who you play, right? When they're going up against
when he's healthy. Nurkic is not healthy ever, but still he's a body.
That solves the rebounding issues. Right. And you bring Dame in and away you go, and it accelerates the whole timeline. I'm not going to tell you, I'm like, am I disappointed? Yes. Am I devastated? No. Because in my head, for the last 2 months, I didn't think Dame was a realistic option.
Right. That should make you excited. You should be excited. The Nets are not satisfied. They're trying. Even if the Dame came to them, you know what I mean? It's exciting that the Nets were in on it. I don't mean to jump on you, but I feel like as a Nets fan, if I was one and I saw that that Dame wanted the Nets, even after all of that shit, and then the Nets were engaged in those talks and didn't brush it off, and didn't play games and they were actually involved. That's got to be exciting because you didn't think Dame was involved, but now you never know. Maybe they'll swoop in and get Drew Holiday. Maybe they'll swoop in and get somebody else.
Well, that's just what upsets me is they had it.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity.
I hope it doesn't happen. I don't need the Nets being good again, man. Fuck that, dude. Like, stay mid.
There's a lot of Net fans that didn't want it. There's a lot of Net fans that want to stay in the course, accumulate the draft picks, do it the right way. I just can't do that. Maybe it's a quick fix guy, man, but and it'll be weird listening to the second half of this podcast because we do it in reverse how we recorded it, but just a little bit of details there. We recorded earlier where we talked about like Ben Simmons with the Nets, the Knicks getting stars, and what can each of the teams kind of be, which is a little bit just for context when you listen to the conversation of when we recorded it. It was before Dame, but it definitely has me feeling right now like a little bit of that disappointment because I wanted him, but again, not distraught. But I do think I start to imagine like what could this team have been, and yeah, you're right. You know, I talk a lot about in the second half of this episode. Well, Ben Simmons, everything goes perfect. Then they're a team that can get to the second round, and who knows what. They get Damian Lillard. That's what they are automatically,
right?
Because that's what he is. Prove it. That's what he is. Like you don't have to
winner.
The best.
Yes, he doesn't have a championship. He hasn't been to the finals, but he's in a stacked Western Conference, and you know, like guys like Nurkic got hurt a lot, and like he got the short end of the stick, and he gave it his all, and he's ready to go. And it's just, you know, it sucks because he's getting a bad name, Dame, as a guy that just like a me player when he's not, you know, and it's just. I was laughing before when you were talking because it's kind of funny because you sound like me, but as a Nets fan, where you're like, you know, you can't, you know, like a guy wants to come to you, you can't be like, nah, I'm good. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't be like that as a fan. If a star wants you, like Donovan Mitchell last year, you have to get him when he wants you. You know what I mean? You can't get the star where you get the star. You know what I'm saying? You have to do that, and you can't take the chance that you know, it's all about, you know, I said it on the podcast. You'll hear it, the one that we recorded this morning in a few minutes. I said it a lot, and I've been saying it on Twitter at Knicks Central. Saying that we'll go get the next disgruntled star is not a plan. It's a hope. And you can't bank your entire future on hopefully one day getting a disgruntled star, especially when that has not worked anytime recently, but since Melo. Donovan Mitchell wanted it too, but that's twice in the last 15 years that a player has wanted to be a Knick. That's a star. I mean, Amari too, sure. But like, let's talk about levels here. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't count your chickens before they hatch. I don't know if that even makes any sense in this regard, but
I don't think it does. I have
it
no
does
idea.
to me.
It does to you. I look at the Milwaukee outgoing. Holiday, Grayson Allen. That 36.8 million, 8.9. And that's what got the deal done. So if they went to the Nets and they were like, hey, we want to get Damian Lillard to Brooklyn, Ben Simmons is in the trade. His salary has to be
yes,
right.
Yes.
And then from there, Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas is done. That's it. And some of those picks, and the Nets get in return, they're probably getting back Nurkic and Lillard. And to me, like
then they don't have to be done. It's not over. There's still off season. They can still get
the conversations that we're having about like Cam Thomas are all so much hope and hypothetical.
He's a good player. He's a very good player.
He could be something.
Yeah.
He could be. But I know what I'm getting here. Now, the only argument I would have, if anybody wanted to pose it to me why it's a bad deal, and I would respect this, is if you said to me, Mike, these guys are fucking hurt all the time. Lillard, you can't trust. I'm not taking that. Like, then Nurkic I could be like, too, you know, man, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Lillard misses a lot of games, and there's no guarantees there.
But is he missing games because he's that star that just doesn't want to play? I'm sorry, I keep stepping on your fucking words, but he's
hurt. He gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, but is it that hurt? Is he hurt because he's like doesn't want to play because the team's out of it, or is he hurt because he's hurt? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know with him. Is it like a Zion thing?
I don't know. I think he's hurt. I think he's injury prone.
Nurkic legitimately gets hurt every
I remember
season.
the net game where he had his like ankle like came off when
I don't
the Nets were in Portland. No, this was in the year when the Nets got their parade that you like to call it for
the
6 seed or whatever. Yeah. No, the 6 seed.
The 6 seed championship.
I was watching that game out west. Titles. It was late. I was like, oh my God. And to get back to what you had originally said about like having it over the Knicks, I actually didn't take joy in that. I just
Evan did.
Well, I encouraged it, to be fair. He texted me. He texted me that. I said you should make that a tweet. And then he did it for me. To be honest. That's how that happened.
Well, because he loves it. Any chance to shit on the Knicks. I know what he's doing. Yeah. I would do the same shit if I was on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, but it didn't cross my mind early. It didn't cross my mind early, and I don't know. I think that shows growth in me that wasn't the first thing I thought. My first thought was, fuck, what did we do? And then Evan texted me that, and that's when it clicked in my head. I was like, oh shit. He didn't pick the Knicks. It didn't even occur to me.
It wasn't even a thought. Yeah.
No, it really wasn't.
Things have changed since 2019, man. A
But-
lot of things have changed.
But now what's annoying me is Knick fans defending it. And
that
I know,
annoys me too. Yeah.
and here's one in particular, and I don't do this often, but I'm going to do it now because I just don't care.
Call them out.
And I just don't care because I also know. Well, okay, two parts. One, I know what Evan's doing, so he's just kind of trolling a little bit. So this could be a troll back, and I don't know. But it's at Tommy Beer writes. Evan says, even in a post superstar world, the stars still want the Nets over the Knicks. And Tommy writes, or at Tommy Beer goes, think this was more, quote, team without Brunson versus Nets over Knicks. Basically saying he didn't want to go to the Knicks because the fit didn't make sense for him.
Right. That's the company line right now with all the Knicks fans and the homers that they were getting at me about that just now before I got on this pod to do this. I'm Bad Weather Fans here. Episode 188, Knicks fans were fucking storming me. Like, oh, it's because of Brunson. It's not because of this. Are you stupid? Like, look at my mentions, man. It's like literally idiot, moron, and it's more than the usual. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, dude, come. And I'm at a point in my life where I literally don't give a fuck. Like, I gotta be honest. And like, I'm just laughing at these people and like trying to mock me. And it's just like, dude, like, how many times can you just take this nonsensical road? Like, Dame and Brunson in a fantasy land would work. It wasn't in the cards because he didn't want to come here. Maybe the Knicks didn't want him and he wanted to go to the market if he couldn't get with Giannis, which is where he wanted to go, clearly, besides the Heat. And that's it. You know, I kept saying this also. Like all the Heat beat writers were trying to spin it like if Dame gets traded anywhere, he'll demand a trade to the Heat. It's like that was just bullshit. Riley bullshit, and
they
like,
had
the same
their
thing is happening
opportunity
right now. Yeah, they
had
did.
it. They like the Knicks
He refused
it was
to
theirs
negotiate.
to lose.
Yeah,
right. And they felt, and the same thing happened.
Same thing with the Knicks last
same
year.
Exact,
Donovan Mitchell.
it's the same exact scenario.
Played games all summer, low ball. We're the
Same
only
exact.
team, and then they said, "All right, well, go find someone else," and they did. So,
and Dame's agents was like, I mean, Milwaukee makes more sense to him for a title.
Right.
Nets probably made more sense to him because he likes Bridges. He likes Brooklyn. The guy was at playoff net games, you know, and you can be like, that doesn't mean much.
It fits his vibe. It fits his vibe. Brooklyn does. It really
fit
does.
his vibe. It's more mellow than the Knicks.
Right.
There's less pressure than the Knicks. See, I can say these things.
Knicks have the heaviest uniforms.
And say maybe that's why Dame did. So like at the same token, you know, a Knicks fan comes at me and goes, "Oh, you know, that's bullshit. The Knicks are the best." I'm saying you're right. They are more popular, but like to your point, maybe Dame was more into the net scene because it's Knicks light.
Right. Also, the Knicks could have not been interested. You don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe I don't know. I'm just trying to play the other side here. I don't know either way. But what we know is that publicly Dame wanted the Nets or the Bucks or the Heat. And also another funny thing, you saw Jimmy Butler put out a video on his IG.
I didn't hear it, but I saw it.
I didn't hear it either, but it doesn't matter. He put it out and said like, oh, you know, there's tampering and blah, blah, blah. Look into it, blah, blah, blah. So the Bucks, right before we got on the pod, the report from Sirius XM radio, NBA radio, said the Bucks called Giannis in 2019 asking if he wanted to trade Chris Middleton for Jimmy Butler. According to a former Bucks player, Giannis vetoed the deal. So that's Giannis responding like, bro, we wanted you back in the day. You wanted to be with us back in the day, and I didn't even want you. So shut the fuck up. Like, that was man. Giannis is the man. Like, I gotta be like, I love Giannis.
Hey, you love Giannis.
Hard. It's gonna be hard to root against them if we get into playoff series against them because Dame's a good guy. I want Giannis to keep winning because he's like the anti guy in the NBA today. Guy, he just doesn't.
He got what he wanted.
He put the fuel to the fire of the Bucks management and said
they did it.
He probably knew Dame through the back channels. Through Dame, probably said he would come here, and he's like, "Listen, I'm out of here if you guys don't make this fucking trade." He was on like every show, any show that would take him on. He's like, you know, so Giannis, how are things? Show. He's like, well, yeah, not any show. It's like, so Giannis, what do you think about you know, your summers in Greece? And he's like, you know what the Bucks should do? They should trade for Dame or trade for a star. Otherwise, I'm going to leave. Like, dude, we didn't even ask you that question. Like, you know, and he's like,
he's got one. He's got one now.
And he might have multiple rings by the time his contract's up now, you know.
And maybe when you listen to the second half of this episode, when I'm like so bullish on the Knicks getting stars that it's possible, maybe it's because I'm just living in a land where it happens for my team. It's an option for my team. that I forget that your
Fuck
team
me.
is different.
Yeah. All right. Well,
That's
that's
how
all
I
I
feel
got.
about it. But yeah, no, Dame. I mean, and then you look at the East. Like, I
Well, it's
would
not over yet, so we still have more. Once we press publish on this podcast, I'm sure someone else is going to get traded, and we're going to
Tyler
have to do it again.
Hero. That's one to look into because his relationship in Miami is dog shit
Trashed.
now.
Yeah.
So what do they do with him? They need him.
Right.
I
So
mean,
let's
they
go.
look at their offseason.
Right.
They
Let's go down the
lost.
list
They lost
quickly.
guys.
So you got Harrow, you got Harden, you got Fournier for what that's worth. You got Drew Holiday. Who else am I missing that has to be traded?
Say it again. I wasn't listening.
So you got Harrow, you got Harden, you got Fournier, you got Drew Holiday, you got Buddy Hield. Who else is there that has to be
I think
traded?
that's it.
One. That's it. So those are 5 guys out there that could be dealt, and maybe the Knicks or the Nets can swoop into one of those deals and get one of those guys. Obviously, the Knicks can't get Evan Fournier, and the Nets wouldn't want him. But like maybe we can sneak in either way and get a pick or get a player. So it's not over yet. Got media day next week. We'll do another episode then, and you know we'll see what happens. You know.
Yeah, I mean the Heat, they lost Gabe Vincent to the Lakers,
Struess also
and
they
Strus
lost.
to Cleveland, and
Yeah.
you like you say those guys like before
Those are the biggest players in the playoffs, man. They carried
losing
them.
that depth.
Yeah.
That the Miami took a. And remember, they were the 7 seed
Yeah.
or 8
Lost
seed,
the playing
8 seed.
game. Yeah, lost the playing game.
That's a big loss for them.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a bad offseason for Miami. That's tough. That's tough to take. Those guys.
Well, they're going to try to get Drew. They're going to try to get Drew Holiday, and they have to.
They have
almost
to.
have to now. Like, they
Oh
have
yeah,
to go all in and
because
get him.
I mean, because think of the production from Kyle Lowry and how much he suffered. He's another year older. That's trouble.
But you know what's
that's trouble.
That's true. But you know what's funny is like the Heat and the Blazers just went through this mess of the Dame stuff, and now they're going to like re-engage for Drew Holiday. Like, I don't know how that's going to work.
How that works.
So like I don't know if that's
It's
really
funny.
going to happen. The reports now that Riley wants Drew Holiday, but like, why would the Blazers want to deal with them right now? Like,
I mean, if I
sure,
would
17
say,
first-round picks, go.
if the deal's right, I mean,
Yeah.
he's still a very, very good player. When they
Yes,
killed the Nets,
but he's not what he was 5 years ago. He's not.
like he's an aging player as well. But he is a terrific.
But he's a win now player for the Heat. He's a win now player, and he'll help them fill in the gaps.
Oh no, I'm talking about Holiday. I'm not talking.
Yeah,
about
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm saying Holiday makes sense in Miami.
He does, but he's also not
He's a
what
much
he
better
was 5
version
years
of
ago.
Kyle Lowry.
Yeah. We're having the same conversation, I think, in different words. So maybe this is
Who's
it
on
for us.
first? Oh,
so anyway,
man, there's just Knick fans. I'm sorry. Like the free agents like going to the Nets. I mean, it's a thing.
it's not over yet. So let's keep some.
I mean, maybe
positivity
Holiday.
for
Yeah,
maybe maybe the Knicks can get like 4 more guards, all from Villanova, and we can just Villanova CAA.
yeah. All right.
All day.
So in part,
nice rhyme, bro. Oh, look, I heard that.
anyway,
I'll shut up. Okay.
in part 2 of this, this basically picks up with us recording and talking about
Monitoring the situation.
the Nets had media day, or no, they didn't have media day, but the GM and it's interesting timing because fuck, you wish it was just one more day later.
Yeah.
To get those questions.
Now they can duck and hide for a little
Oh
bit.
God, yeah. but I mean, the first question would be, hey, Mark Spears reported or that, Damian Lillard's agent requested a trade to the Nets or the Bucks. Were you engaged with Miami? Excuse me, were you engaged with Portland? Was there a trade on the table? What can you tell us? Done. I mean, that's it.
That's it.
And he'll say, Damon's a great player. One that any team would want. We were definitely approached about it. I can't get into the specifics of it, but for us right now, it wasn't the right. Like that's what he would say.
Well, what do you think Leon Rose would say in that situation if the shoe was on the other foot?
Leon Rose was asked, like by a real reporter.
If he was at a press conference and the same situation, what would Leon Rose say?
I don't know. I don't know what his answers are.
You know what he would say?
I don't know.
I'll tell you. That's it. That's what he would say. Nothing.
Nothing.
Because he doesn't talk to the media. Oh, I got it. Done. Okay, that's it.
That's my point. I don't know what he sounds like. I don't know what his like.
Got him. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But anyway, so you'll hear that. And then we talk about the Knicks and their inability to get stars.
Hopefully it changes by next week's episode. So we hope, or we'll see. I hope something else happens, man. I just hope.
All right. So here's part 2.
It's going to be a good season, but it is what it is. So here's part 2. Thank you.
Here's part 2 of Bad Weather Fan. yesterday, it's not media day, which will happen for the Nets and Knicks coming up on Monday. But the Nets did have the GM and coach meet with the media, which came out of nowhere, but it was something enjoyable. And it was 26 minutes of new Nets content. And Alex, I know for you, good morning. How are you doing? You've got a Knicks question that we'll pose a little bit later in the show that will tie everything in together. But how the hell are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been monitoring the situation, which is something that a lot of people say right now. That Giannis is thinking about leaving. The Blazers are monitoring the situation. The Knicks are monitoring the situation. So I've been monitoring the situation with the Nets from afar. And if you think Ben Simmons is turning it around, then you probably think Zach Wilson's turning it around. So we'll
Oh,
keep it
there
there.
is a much better chance. If we're going to go down this road to start, there's
I
a
don't think
much
so.
better chance that Ben Simmons turns it around over Zach. Here's the difference. Big
Yes.
difference.
Let's see. Let's hear it.
Ben Simmons has to turn it around. Zach Wilson never was good.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But I still think there's just as much of a chance as Ben Simmons clicking and getting it back.
Okay.
Than
Then Zach Wilson ever
'Cause-
getting it.
Right. Ben Simmons is a has been and Zach Wilson's a never been. So that's the
Okay. Well, if you
difference.
want to go
Yes.
down that argument and you want to go down that
that's
road,
fair. Yes, but still.
I still believe that Ben Simmons, because,
Mhm.
and I would use the argument because he did have it at one point, there's a better chance for him to regain it as
Okay.
opposed to Zach Wilson, who has to get something he never had. Now,
That's fair.
the evaluators that drafted Ben Simmons in the Philadelphia organization, for the first couple of years, I mean, he proved them right. Now, he had his flaws, don't get me wrong. He wasn't a perfect player, but he was somebody that you felt comfortable could be part of your championship DNA in your organization.
Right.
The Jets brass, when they drafted Zach Wilson, they missed. Like, that was just a swing and a miss. He's not good. Now, he has good skill sets. It would almost be like if Ben Simmons, this was the Ben Simmons you saw all along, then I'd have the same argument. But I think because he once had it, he has a better chance to turn it around as opposed to Zach Wilson ever getting it.
That's fair. That's fair. And honestly, just I know we're going to talk Knicks and Nets mostly, but honestly, with the Jets, it's like everybody would have taken Zach Wilson number 2 or at least top 5 that year. So everybody's like, oh, they missed. It's just they missed, yeah, but you know what? Like everybody would have taken him because they missed on Lawrence. But whatever. Ben Simmons it's just enough. I think he's just getting in shape and doing his thing just so he can continue to get paid. He's not going to do well. He's going to give you like 10, 15 games, and he's going to get hurt. He's going to excite you like he did last year against, I think it was the Sixers, where he had that diving tap down the court. Remember, he's like, it was something, there was like a loose ball and then some sick diving tap. And I was like, whoa, who was this guy? And he was like, played really well that game. And that was, of course, when Embiid was out that one game versus Sixers. And then it's just like, what? Well, okay. And then he disappeared. And it's just like, okay, well, he had a strained calf and he's done for the year. I'm making it up, but it was something like stupid that's not in a season-ending injury. And then he disappears. It's just he doesn't want to play. And he's just happy with getting his money. He's trying to make sure he can secure his contract. And then when he's an expiring deal, maybe he'll start playing again. So it's a waste of a contract, and it's an anchor around the Nets, necks, and it's gonna hold them back for a little bit.
Well, I will say there is some hope, and I this is the part of the season where there is some hope. And if all indications are true that he's in the best health of his life, or that he's been in a long time, then the expectations for him, go up, and that's what they have to be. Ultimately, you'll probably prove to be right. But the good news for Net fans is at least there's some form of hope if he can get his shit together, that you could feel good about it, because it changes the whole dynamic of the team. And the Nets met with the media yesterday. The coach did and the GM did, and I thought it was interesting when what Jaque Vaughn had to say about Ben Simmons, beyond just that he's in great shape finally, because Vaughn was tough on Ben last year when he wasn't performing, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing on this, Vaughn basically said that that was on him because Ben wasn't in the best health. So he should not have been as hard on him, essentially, because he couldn't physically do it. And this year, that he is available and he is ready and he will push him because he sees a different Ben. Now, I thought that was interesting on a couple of different levels. One, the communication clearly wasn't great last year between Vaughn and Ben. And also, they didn't, or it was good communication. They just didn't believe him. They didn't believe that he wasn't feeling great. They were just like, hey, we expect more of you. You're an all NBA player and performer. What the hell is going on? So either one, they weren't communicating well, or two, Ben or Vaughn thought he was full of shit. And this year he's saying, hey, I was wrong to be so hard on Ben. He's now in a healthy position. We'll see what we got on him at point guard.
I think they're just trying to. It's psyops with Ben Simmons. They're trying to just get anything out of him, so they're gonna say whatever it is that they can try to get his confidence up and try to make him come back to even being a tenth of the player. Because as zero is a waste of a contract. If they get 20% of what Ben Simmons was, at least they're getting something. You know what I mean? Like getting a backup point guard, like, anything for that kind of contract. At least it's something that maybe you can trick somebody into trading for him, or just have that contract not be such an albatross and help them at least a little bit. Like we said on this podcast, I said, like, I think last episode or the one before, I was like, at least give me 10, 6, and 5, give me something, not zeros across the board, like goose eggs, but I don't see. I just feel like Jaque Vaughn's trying to play the other hand, like trying to psychologically manipulate Ben Simmons into showing up, which is fair, is what he has to do, because he knows his job rides. If Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons, the all-star Ben Simmons, Jaque Vaughn has a contract extension. Jaque Vaughn is going to be here for a little bit longer. If he's nothing, then he has more of a better chance of not being around, in a couple of years. So it's just. They're doing what they got to do, and it's I can't hate on it. I just don't believe it. You know what I mean? I'm done. You can't sell me again.
I'm not going to go on this podcast and try to sell you that Ben Simmons is back. I mean, I would be falling for it, but I'm just saying personally, I have no other options but to hope that he is better. I mean, if I don't do that, then I'm not a fan. Now. Right. I'm not going, and I know you could make the counter argument like of Jet fans being like, oh, you're going to hope that Zach Wilson is this because I got no other choice. Yes, of course. But the situation is so different where the Nets, ultimate future of a championship doesn't rely on Ben Simmons. He's a piece of the puzzle that I hope gets them better. For a Jet fan, the hope of Zach Wilson, a little bit false in the sense of without Aaron, there's no Super Bowl chance. You had to have hope in Zach being good just so you can make the playoffs. It's just a little different on that front comparing the two. As a Net fan, having hope in Ben Simmons, it's just part of it. With the hope for Zach, it was all of it, because it went from Super Bowl to now, can you barely survive and win games? The Nets with Ben Simmons, great. They're a team that can maybe get to like the second round and have some fun. Without him, they're fighting for a playoff spot, right? It's a different world between the two, and I have to believe in it. I don't have to believe in it because I don't. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to ultimately work, but I have to just keep my fingers crossed and essentially pray that Ben Simmons is great. And I thought it was. Why are you laughing? Was it great? I mean, what else?
Because you're praying. You're like praying for something that's like not going to happen, but it's just funny because like you have no choice,
right? You have no choice. Yeah, if he's 50%, that's still more 50% than he was last year, and that's why it's funny because the conversation's like, who plays point guard? Is it Ben Simmons or Spencer Dinwiddie? If Ben's playing well, it's not even a question. It's Ben Simmons.
What about Dennis Smith Jr.? You guys got Dennis.
He's going to get a ton of minutes. I read between the lines. I listened to the whole press conference today. That guy's going to get a ton of minutes. He plays defense.
Yes,
Vaughn's going to play him 20 plus
athletic,
game, and it's going to bother Net fans. I can already tell you right now. He's going to get a ton of run because of how he plays defense. He's going to have
a lot in common.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I just wanted to finish off by saying like if Ben Simmons is playing well, that means Spencer Dinwiddie's playing off the ball and he's your backup point guard. End of discussion.
Right.
And that's the best case scenario for Net fans is that happens.
Right.
Yeah, I got no argument for you, Alex, on Ben Simmons. What am I going to sit here and say? Like the coaching staff says he's healthy. The only it's a game of show and tell, right? You can tell me all you want. You can tell me this. You can tell me that. But until you show me, what? There's nothing else here. And I'm falling for it a little bit, seeing all this, feeling good. But I know where the road goes. I know where it goes. And again, prove me wrong, prove you double wrong, and the Nets are in a much better place than they were here on the end of September.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between hope and believing. The hope is like you hope it all works out. You're gonna dream that like, wow, if Ben Simmons puts it together, what can the Nets be this year? And they're not going to be a title contender, but maybe you can make it to the second round of the playoffs and have a fun year, and then attract a free agent in the offseason or a trade target in the offseason, But if you know, and are you believing that's going to happen? No, you're not going to bet anything on it on DraftKings. You're not going to do any of that. Promo code BWF. You're not going to do any of that. Of course not. But you're going to try. You're going to keep it together, and you're going to like you're going to like, hey, it's the offseason. Let's dream a little bit. We haven't even seen a preseason game. I mean, that all can change after one preseason game if you see him and he stinks. But you know what? Like, at least the Nets did get, you know, in all seriousness, because a lot of people, you know, follow me on Twitter at Nick Central. You know how I feel about Dennis Smith Jr. in the past. I mean, he's turned his career around you know, it's kind of like Geno Smith. You know what I mean? They turned his career around, and you know, I'm happy for him. You know, I used to hate on him a lot because of when he was on the Mavericks, and you know, the Porzingis, you know, like the Knicks missed on him when they drafted Ntilikina and then passed on him. Even like LeBron had something to say about it. It was like, enough with this guy. He's not that great. So that made me make fun of him a little bit, but not personally, but just like, you know, he's not that great. He's not that great. He just dunks, you know. And then of course he's traded to the Knicks in the Porzingis deal. And now he's on my team, and I just couldn't stand him, you know. And you know, he just would have some flashy plays, and he wasn't that great. And then he was out of the NBA, I believe, and then he worked his way back with the Hornets, went home, you know, in North Carolina, and you know, good. I'm happy for him. Now he's back in Brooklyn and New York, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he turned his career around. But if you're counting on him, then that's a big problem. I mean, you can have him as your sixth man, seventh man, come off the bench, give you some highlight plays, and get the crowd into it. That's great. But at the end of the day, you know, the Nets are gonna be in trouble if they're counting on Ben Simmons. So I don't believe they are. I think they're just saying all the right things to try to keep, you know, the fan base engaged, try to keep Ben Simmons engaged, trying to not bury him like they did in Philly, you know. And
I'll disagree with you on a little bit. I think I don't think the Net coaches are like, well, we don't think he's very good. We're gonna pretend that he is, so the Net fans are engaged. I think they truly, at the bottom of their heart, know we have him. We have a guy that was an all NBA talent. We're going to try to get the best out of this guy and bring him back. I mean, I do think they believe that. I don't know if they feel in their soul that this will work out and it will happen. But if you're a coach, if you're Jaque Vaughn on the Nets and you got Ben Simmons here, and he says he's healthy and he looks physically much better, they're going to do everything in their power to get him to be great. They're not just selling it to the fans. It's their job.
They're selling
an organization to make him awesome. I mean, that is ultimately their job is to get him to be great. Now, they might fail, that he might not be very good. He might get hurt. All the bullshit again might occur, which I'm not faulting you
bet on that.
Yeah, of course. I totally get that. There's a great chance of that. But at the same time, they have one job. It's to win games and to get the best out of Ben Simmons. They have to do that. And I don't think it's a complete like sell job to the fan base. It's also their job to get him to play at a high level.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're right. I just think that I don't believe that they actually believe it. I think that they're just doing what they can to get the most out of him because they have no choice because he's on the team and that contract is there, and that's the end of that. He's just got to go out there and play well. I mean, it's time. This is it. I mean, this is it. It was it last year too.
This is it. This is it.
This is it. No, this is it.
This is the
next year too. This is it.
It.
Best shape of his life. Yeah. Again,
man. Show and tell, man. Like I said, just go out there, show it. And Dennis Smith Jr., by the way, last year, 8.8 points per game, 4.8 assists, 3.1 rebounds. Not terrible. I mean, those are the numbers you want Ben Simmons to have.
Right. Exactly. And that's the. That's if you got that from Ben Simmons, you'd be ecstatic. At least he's on the team. You know what I mean? You'll might get frustrated by the middle of the year. Like, can this guy give me a little more? But at the end of the day, if you look at it, you're like, thank God we got something out of him. Maybe we could trade for him. Somebody might see something, and you could add him to a bigger deal or something. You know,
it is funny though, Alex, because I'll admit it. Like, I fall down the trap of like, well, maybe, just maybe, and I know where I'm going with this, but you just can't help yourself. When you hear that he's healthy, you know what he was. And I always go back to that. He was great. And I have Knicks fans tweet me all the time. Like, he's a good, like, you watch out for Ben. Like, there's a lot of Knicks fans that like Ben in a lot of that I've seen.
Maybe that's psyops for you to try to psychologically get you excited so you can like get let down.
No one's psychologically messing with me on Twitter unless it's Cooney's. It's got a stranglehold on my brain. Other than that, come on, like, we'll see.
We'll see.
Speaking of psychological,
out. Speaking of psychological, Julius Randle's, media day is coming up for the Knicks, and I wonder what players, fans are looking forward to see. Is it Julius Randle, who's putting out some cryptic social media posts now and switched agencies, and what is he going to say at media day? RJ Barrett is always fun coming back from Canada with FIBA. Evan Fournier is somehow still on the roster. Is he going to get traded in this phantom Dame trade that's going to happen as an extra player, or like if the Knicks can swoop in to help a deal get made or get Dame? Who knows? Like things like that. Quickly is having a contract issue. He's not extended yet. That's making Knicks fans nervous. If we lose Quickly and Obi and within 2 off seasons, and they go on to be very good players in this league, and the Knicks, end up topping out in what they've been, or maybe a Eastern Conference Finals appearance, and then they disappear, like usually happens. It's just like Knicks fans are going to be disappointed. So I'm just curious, like what is going on with this franchise, and like, are they just happy with being okay, and like they're quote unquote monitoring the situation, as opposed to very respected writers like Ian Begley and stuff like that? But what does monitoring the situation mean? Like, hey, Embiid might be available, we're monitoring the situation. Giannis might be available, we're monitoring the situation. Like, so is everybody. These are former MVPs in their prime. Everybody's going to check in on these guys. That doesn't mean you're doing your due diligence. That just means that you're alive. Like, you're a GM and you're alive and you're paying attention to the NBA, and that's great. But at the end of the day, how are the Knicks going to get better this year? They got to hope RJ Barrett gets better. They got to hope Mitchell Robinson gets better. They got to hope Brunson does the same thing he did last year, which is not guaranteed. I hope so. But at the end of the day, like what's the Knicks ceiling this year? It's the same thing as last year. So it's like, yeah, I'm excited to see the Knicks. I'm excited to see them play. I love the Knicks. I love watching them play. But do I have that extra excitement like I did like for the Jets going into the season with Aaron Rodgers? No, I have the same thing. Like, oh, this is going to be great. Let's see what happens. Hopefully these guys get it together. There's no Obi. We got no backup power forward, but we don't need one, apparently, according to Twitter GMs. And, Dante DiVincenzo's here. That's great. The Nova Knicks are all together. They've even brought back Ryan Arcidiano. And it's just, okay, let's see, so hopefully something new happens over the next week, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the NBA season starts. And maybe we'll have something else happen to make it a little more exciting. But as of right now, I'm just kind of even keeled. Like, it's gonna be the same thing. Julius Randle's going to pound it in, and Tibbs is gonna like ride him, forever, and it's just whatever, man. It's getting kind of whatever.
Well, Alex, I mean, on two front, what was the Knicks organization supposed to do this summer to improve?
I don't know, man. There
was no routes.
What my answer is? That's never going to happen. Is trade Julius Randle, and they're never going to do that. You know what I mean? So that's my answer every time. But they're not going to do that, and that's the problem.
Well, Julius Randle proved in last season that he is somebody that is valuable. Not as a superstar, but as somebody that you can win with. He played really well. He had a really good season. I mean, he was an all-star, regular season. He had a really good regular season, and it was terrible in the playoffs. We know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for the Knicks, I believe where they are right now is to stand pat and wait for the next star to fall. Monitor. I know you don't like the word, but here's the difference, Alex. I don't think 3 or 4 years ago they could even really be monitoring these guys, because they wouldn't have a chance. Now they can monitor to them because they've played well, and they have put themselves in a position where you add a guy like Jalen Brunson, people might want to come to the Knicks and play with him and be there. Donovan Mitchell, I know he wanted to be a Knick originally, but we'll see how things go in Cleveland. They're going to monitor that situation and maybe make a deal to bring him in and pair him. I don't think the Knicks this offseason had the opportunity to add the next guy and did the right thing by just continuing to grow internally. Man, I can't believe I'm even going down this route, but I think they did the right thing. Now, could they have traded Evan Fournier? I'm sure they tried. I don't think they said, oh, Evan Fournier just trashed our organization in an interview. I have an idea. Let's keep him. I mean, I'm sure they tried to deal him, but there's also a reason, like, teams are probably like, yeah, I don't know if we want $20 million of a lump of coal. Like, we don't want to make that deal either. I think the Knicks have to believe in the growth internally. Jalen Brunson's still only, 25, 26. RJ Barrett, I don't know if he'll ever be a superstar or a star, but he's a guy that you can have on your team that can give you 20 and be another cog in all of this. Quickly is going to get better. Randall is what he is. RJ gets better, and you just continue this internal growth. And then when it's time, when Embiid says, I'm done, you pounce. There is no quick fix. There is nothing
so tired
else.
Of that
what else could the Knicks have done this offseason that would have made you happy? If you give me an answer,
I said trade Julius Randle,
Yeah,
but it's not going to happen.
but-
That's the thing. Like, that's
but-
the one thing that's not going to happen. Trade Julius Randle and give Obi a chance, and just let's rock with that team that was fun when Randle was out, and
But
they
no-
even played great in the playoffs without him. You know what I mean? And so it's just like I wanted to see that team, and it's not going to happen. And we're just going to be the same old shit. And the same old shit means that they're going to be the 5th seed or the 4th seed or the 6th seed. That's great because that's better than the same old shit used to be. But at the same time, it's just like, I want to see what like the path to an NBA championship. And I'm tired of the game of, well, we got to wait and see. Maybe we might get a star. And like, it's just this, it's lipstick on a pig. It's the same shit as what it's always been, man.
I don't know why. I can't believe I'm sitting here defending the Knicks against you and having this conversation, but they've made so much growth last year that this is the right, at this point in time, those are fixes. Yes. Okay. If you wanted to trade Julius Randle, what would it have been? I don't know what the answer is out there for you to get a deal back. You're not going to get the return that you wanted. And if you want to go down the road of the argument, if you should have traded Julius Randle, you get back an expiring contract and a pick or whatever it might be. You know, you send him out to a team that's looking to win a championship, like a Phoenix or out west, where they're
the
missing
Lakers
a piece
or something.
whatever, right back to the Lakers, and you get back whatever.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you ride with Obi and you get internal growth, and you see if that. Okay,
that's what I wanted.
Definitely an option. Definitely an option. Outside of all of that scenario,
right?
There is the waiting game. This is what all NBA teams are doing. I mean, you look in the Eastern Conference, you know, the draft picks are what got Milwaukee to where they are, in one guy in particular. That's how they got where they are. The Celtics, they got where they are because of trades that inquired into getting picks. They got 2 guys in particular that changed their whole organization. The Sixers tanked. They obviously hit a home run with Embiid. The rest around it has been a little murky, to say the least. The Miami Heat drafted well with Bam Adebayo, bringing in a good free agent in Jimmy Butler, which to me has a lot of similarities in Jalen Brunson, under the radar signing, and he got better. Now, Jimmy Butler had a lot of bigger accolades before coming over to Miami, but a guy that everybody's like, hey, Jimmy Butler is pretty good, but whatever. And then he did what he's done to Miami. The Knicks are in that same boat of getting in a player in Jalen Brunson. Our Julius Randle is there as a free agent, and then the draft picks, and quickly they hit. RJ Barrett-ish, not hit based on the status of where he was, but he's not bad. He's a good player. And now they're in a waiting game, and they have to hope for internal growth. And I think what would bother me if I'm a Knicks fan is when that next round happens where Embiid's dealt, if Mitchell's dealt again, and the Knicks aren't involved in that, and they go to the Nets. Or they go to.
It's gonna happen again. It's just the same shit, though. That's the thing. I'm just so tired. Like the player they drafted the guy. They drafted a guy in the top 10. They drafted a guy in the top 10 and didn't play him because
that was terrible.
That's what I'm saying. Like this internal growth thing of that you're going down. It makes sense on paper, but the Knicks haven't done that. You know, they drafted Mitchell Robinson and developed him. They drafted RJ Barrett and developed him. They drafted Emmanuel quickly, developed him. Okay. Sure. You know, and like they have guys like Deuce McBride, that's okay. They have Sims, that's okay. You know, but like these guys aren't taking the Knicks to the next level. You know what I mean? But we didn't know about Obi Toppin, and now he's just going to be with Halliburton in Indiana, out of all places. And let's see what happens there. That's going to be scary. And I'm not rooting for it to happen, but I'm kind of rooting for Obi as a person because the Knicks cost him so much money, and he's already older coming into the NBA. And it's just like, I hope he does well. I really do. And not because I want to sabotage the Knicks, but I want them to be exposed a little bit. And I'm rooting for Obi as a person. I think he's a good guy. He cried on draft day when he's drafted by the Knicks. How many players cry when they're drafted by the Knicks in a happy way? You know what I mean? It's not a sad way. He was like excited from New York. His dad played at the you know, the street ball parks, and it's just like, you know, like at the Rucker and stuff. You know what I mean? And it's just like, this is where he wanted to be, and the Knicks didn't give him a chance, and he showed out when he had the opportunity. And I'm beating a dead horse here, but at the same time, it's just like, you can't give me that the Knicks need to just develop players and grow organically, because they're not doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, yes,
Randall's a free agent. Brunson's a free agent. All these guys came from the outside. Josh Hart was a free agent. DiVincenzo's a free agent. Like the Nova Knicks weren't drafted by the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys, they're the core of this team are from free agents. They're not organically grown through this team. You know, like
Regardless of, but that doesn't matter if it's drafted or you're traded for when you're 23, 24 years old. It's still going to be internal growth from within. If you want to nitpick on the idea, well, Mitchell was drafted in the second round, quickly was a late first round guy. Those RJ Barrett was a top 3 pick. Their internal growth, but the other ones are free agents. Yeah, it's always a mix. What team is just 100% grown?
Not 100%.
Not everybody's the Warriors.
Their best players, like Ntilikina and Knox, didn't work out.
No,
like, those are guys that are just not here anymore. You know what I mean?
But the problem is there's just no other options right now, and this is their best course of action. There's nothing else for them to do. You want to go out and make a splashy trade and get Damian Lillard? Okay, that's an option.
It depends on the deal. Yeah, it depends on the deal.
It's at this point in time, it's about the internal growth. And if you're going to tell me that that's not good enough, well, then the guys like Quickly, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, they're just not very good. If you don't
they're
feel
good, they're not stars. They're not superstars that are going to give you to the next level.
At this point, they have to wait it out and ride the next wave that comes in, and hope they internally get better at the same time. It's hard. Winning a championship is a fucking damn near impossibility. You know, I came from this Nets team that had the most loaded roster I've ever seen in my life. I mean, disgustingly loaded, and they still fucked it up. It's really, really, really difficult. There's not many teams that you go into a season and you go, I have a chance to win a championship. It's low. It's very low. I'm just telling you from a observer of a team that I do not like, but I monitor very much.
Monitor the situation.
They are in a better place than they have been in years. And it doesn't mean that it's enough for you. It's enough for the fan base. But at least for them, they have put themselves in a position where they can ascend to get to that next step. Now, you might not see it. You might not know what the answer is to it yet. Leon Rose might not know what the answer is to it yet. He'll never hear from him. But the idea is they at least now are in a position where that is something you can dream of and think of as an option. I'm telling you, having guys like Jalen Brunson around, having Josh Hart's around, I don't know if that's enough to steal. Like Brunson, I think, is enough for people to be excited to go play with. And I think that makes a difference. I really do. Now, I do think the coach there is a problem for attracting guys. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend, I don't want to defend the Knicks. I do think they're in a better place than they have been. And they do now have a better chance to attract guys than they ever have. I'm not saying they will. I hope they don't. But I do think having guys like Jalen Brunson out there make a huge difference for this organization. And I do think the next round, I think Embiid entertains the idea of the Knicks. I don't think he ever would have 3 or 4 years ago. But I think now, I think that's something that would excite him. I really do.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'm so done with it. It's been 20 years of this. Like maybe they'll be, actually not 20 years, like 13 years of this since the 2009 when they were trying to get LeBron and all the stars that were coming and they got Amari. So let's say 14 years, whatever it is, since they've been like looking for the summer of 2010. We're going to get this guy. We're going to get this guy. We're going to get that guy. I'm so tired of this game. And, I want them to be building organically. I want them to be building and adding free agents and getting rid of guys that are trying to just promote themselves over the team, like a Julius Randle. Like this guy, and Tibbs is like you said it, he's a problem. He's like trying when Tibbs was hired, I wanted somebody like Kenny Atkinson because I wanted a guy that's going to continue to develop the team slowly and build organically through the draft and then pounce on a guy. You know what I mean? Not had these guys that are just looking for themselves, and then Julius Randle's untouchable in the organization. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. And then Tibbs is just going to let him do whatever he wants, but Obi coughs the wrong way and he's benched. Mitchell Robinson, grabs a rebound and he gets 2 early fouls and he never plays again in Dallas at one time. And he disappears from the arena. And we still never heard that story of what happened there. You know what I mean? It's just like all of these things have happened with this coach and he's still here because he's winning. And on paper, it's like, wow, how can you get rid of this coach? And the people that are casuals that don't really pay attention are like, how can you get rid of this coach? Look at his record. Because there are opportunities in these 2 playoffs that he's been in that he has dropped the ball. You know what I mean? This is who Tibbs has been his entire career. I know he got screwed with Derrick Rose's injury. I get that. But there have still been opportunities, in Minnesota. There's been opportunities here. And it's just, he's never taking you over the top. And he's 64 years old. You know what I'm saying? I need a coach that's going to be here. I know it's the NBA and coaches come and go. But I need a coach that's going to be here and that I think that can be here for 5 to 7 years and is going to build this team into a contender, because it's not going to be Tibbs, because in 5 to 7 years, he's going to be 70 years old. And like, I'm not being ageist here, but I am, because it's just at the same time, like, how is this guy going to connect to these younger players who were born like 50 years after he was a teenager? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's mind-boggling to me, and they're just gonna waste this opportunity where they have Jalen Brunson on a good contract. They're gonna waste this opportunity. They got all of these younger players on a good contract. Now Quickly's coming up to get paid soon. Robinson's gonna come up to get paid again, and you got to keep these guys because they're the core of your team, and you got to have some recognizable players on your team. But at the same time, are they winning a championship with this squad? No. And if their plan is to hope and dream that and monitor the situation of Giannis or Embiid or Dame or any of these other players on other teams, that's a shitty fucking plan. It doesn't work. It's enough. You know what I'm saying? It's just enough.
Well, I understand it's enough, but the Knicks don't. Then we can go back to the two big Knick failures. RJ Barrett did not. Then RJ Barrett not being being a number 3 pick and being a superstar player,
not a superstar. Correct.
That's what
good player, not a superstar.
Good player. But for the 3rd pick in the draft, you need a superstar, right? Mm-hmm. And if he's not a superstar, that to me, then it all goes back to that's the biggest problem. Because if you're the Knicks and you add superstar RJ Barrett alongside Jalen Brunson, and then Julius Randle's the 3rd guy,
right?
Pretty good. That's a pretty good team.
That's fair.
But if RJ Barrett's just going to be a high level role player, that's a problem. So when you're looking at what was the Knicks' plan, well, it's that their lottery picks have sucked, and that your best lottery pick is a high level role player. That to me then derails the whole plan. And then with the Obi part, we don't know. I mean, we never saw him play, so who the hell really knows? Do I think Obi Toppin's a superstar even if he's getting minutes? No, but I do think Obi Toppin could have been a high level role player like RJ Barrett, which we'll see in Indiana, which is going to be very fun. And I plan when I do DraftKings daily lineups, he'll be in mine every night.
And me too. And is Jalen Brunson a superstar? Is he going to do the same thing he did last year? I don't mean to be pessimistic, but like he came out of nowhere because he had a slow build in Dallas, and Dallas regrets not getting him. His career arc was going up and up and up, and he built himself from nothing, and that's a plus to him and his father for for being there for him, and he's a coach on the Knicks and whatever. But is he going to do the same thing he did last year? I mean, I would hope so, but is this like? I
don't see why he wouldn't.
I'm just like, it's just like you're counting on somebody who's done it once. Could it have been just a career year? Sure. But like, I believe he can. But at the end of the day, like I said, he's on a bargain deal because he wasn't a superstar yet. Now he's a borderline, like he's a star, like a real star, borderline superstar. If he can keep this up and become an all-star, he should have been an all-star last year over Randall. But like, are you going to keep this up? And if he is, he's going to get a super max or a max deal. So then what the fuck are you doing with your team? Then what is your team? You know what I mean? Then this is all we are. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it.
Yeah, but this is all we are is a lot better than where it was. I mean,
I'm so tired of that, man, because just because, Isaiah Thomas sucked and Layden sucks doesn't mean I have to be okay with mediocre or like okay with very good and not expect the championship at some point.
I'm not telling you that to compare it to the Isaiah Thomas days. I'm just telling you it's improved. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
It's fun. It's nice to watch, but like I would prefer it even a couple of years ago where it's like we're building, 19, 20, like we got to the playoffs and, lost. Like, I prefer that to be like the worst place you could be in the NBA is middle of the pack. And that's where the Knicks are right now. They're in no man's land in the middle of the pack. They're not the worst team.
They're better than that. They're better than that. They went to the second round of the playoffs. That's not no man's land. The Nets are in no man's land.
What are the Knicks winning a championship in the next 3 years?
No, but they're not in no man's land.
Then what are they?
They're a second round team.
Are they a top 3 team this year? Are they going to win are they going to get to the finals?
I don't think so.
Right. So they're in the middle of the pack. They're not better than the Bucks, not better than the Celtics, not better than the Sixers. They're not better than the Heat. Like that's 4 teams right there. And then there's always a surprise team that comes out of nowhere.
The Nets.
That's better. The Nets, maybe.
Ben Simmons MVP season.
The Pacers, maybe.
That's the fun part about this. Look at the Knicks were the surprise team last year that came out of nowhere that ended up shooting up. Right. You don't know how the Hawks could have a much better season. I mean, that certainly is something that like there's all these wild card teams that make it fun. And I don't want to, we could go here round and round in circles. And I understand your viewpoint of the Knicks. I'm looking at it from an outsider, and I'm just going, they've improved. They've put themselves in a better spot. Now you're not going to be satisfied. Like I'm not going to be satisfied with the Nets. I'm in a psychological different place because I had 3 years of a couple of things. One, living through some really tough shit with the Nets and just the up and down nature of all of it.
The mind fuck that you went through as a fan.
It was just a lot. It was a lot. And then also the idea that, a title was viable. I mean, there was a couple of years where it said, okay, this
is it.
But it's an option. It's something that I've been dream of. Now I know that's just kind of washed. So I think as a fan for me this year, it's like a mental reset of let's see what all this looks like, and go through it for a year. I know there's a lot of Net fans that are like excited about the idea of it's just going to be a normal season. I personally am not. That's a little depressing based on where it was in the past. Like at least it was a mind fuck, but it came with an opportunity. For me this year, I have to just sit and say I have to accept it. I mean, this is the first year I have to accept the fact that the Nets are going to be on TV. It's going to be something for me to watch. I hope they play well. I get joy when they win. I'm going to have to hope for improvements. I am setting myself up for that, and I know that, and I bring all that back to you because I know where you're coming from. Where what you had last year, I think, as a Net fan, they would sign up for in a second. Just overachieving, second round, feeling good, and away we go. And I know for you, you're in the perspective of, well, that's not good enough for a championship. And I know that from my team, but because of just how much of a disaster the last couple of years are, it's like a different mindset because of what happened.
It is, but also the Knicks didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell. They played games with the Jazz all off season, and we don't have to go down that road again. But like, it's just that's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. It's like when you were at the doorstep of getting a legitimate star in the NBA, you played games all offseason and you manipulated the fans and you brainwashed them into thinking that the Jazz were just being unreasonable. Meanwhile, they traded him to the Cavs, for a reasonable deal. You know what I mean? And the idea of brainwashing Knicks fans into thinking there's an actual Knicks tax, like, oh, we got to charge the Knicks more because they're the Knicks. Like, that's bullshit. The teams just want to get the most out of it, and you negotiate in good faith, and then you can make a deal. It's just a bunch of crap. And I'm just so tired of the spin. I'm so tired of all of that. You know what I mean? So it's just like if they had traded for Donovan Mitchell, now we're in a year of last year they got to the second round with Donovan Mitchell. Then it's a little more exciting because we got a star. We got Brunson. Maybe Randall's still here or RJ's gone. I don't know. But like, at least I feel like we have a shot now. And then if you add another star to that and you monitor the situations of a Giannis or an Embiid, like, holy shit, we can add them to Donovan Mitchell and Brunson. Then you got something. You know what I mean? Right now, you're still stuck. Like, okay, you add a Giannis, you added Embiid. I mean, it's amazing. But like, even then, are we winning a championship with just Giannis and Brunson? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just like, I know a lot can happen. You'd have a chance, but
definitely
like
with Giannis, come on.
No, I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you don't. You got to get him. I'm just saying like there's steps along the way that the Knicks have missed. You know what I'm saying? Like the Knicks have passed and they're acting like it's all good because we were the fifth seed last year and we beat Donovan Mitchell. Meanwhile, the Cavs still have him and can be better than the Knicks this year because they have him. It wasn't a 1 year trade. Yes, the Knicks won the trade, quote unquote. They won. They didn't need Donovan Mitchell this year. They beat him, whatever. But that doesn't mean the Cavs are not in a better situation. And I'm so tired of this NBA drama, this soap opera shit, or will he, won't he bullshit. He might leave the Cavs, yeah, but he might stay. He's planning on opting out. Yeah, well, if he opts out and re-signs, I believe he gets more money. So, of course, he's going to say, I'm going to opt out. That doesn't mean he's going to leave the Cavs. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, stop with this bullshit, like praying, will you? Hope, I pray, monitor the situation crap, because it's not a plan. It's a hope. It's a hope. And that's why I'm so like mid of like, the Knicks are back. Okay, this would be great. I'm excited to see them. But it's enough. And
that's where they are. I mean, that's realistically where they are. I mean, that's realistically where they are. That's their team.
Frustrating.
Yeah,
it really is. And you want me to read the poll question?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, I'm just joking. You read the poll. Read the poll question. My God.
So, excuse me. So, I did it based on the media day topic that we had before. Knicks fans. Let me take a sip of water. Hold on one second. Knicks fans. Media day is next Monday. Which player are you looking forward to hearing from the most? Comment why. Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Manuel Quickly, or Evan Fournier? Which one do you think won, Mike?
Quick. No, not quite. I don't want to say that. Fournier.
Close. This is a really close poll. Julius Randle, 29.5% is the winner. RJ Barrett, 26.7% is in second. Evan Fournier, 23.9% is in third. And Emmanuel Quickly, 20% is in fourth. So it's very even. Very, very even. I liked your response. At Mike Delivers Pod, respondent said Leon Rose. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he never talks to anyone. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Let's see. Who else?
Follow me on Twitter at Mike Delivers Pod.
Let's see. Oh, Adam Waller at Adam Digital. I want to hear from the coach and GM about the blueprint for success. Thank you, Adam. Me too. I do too. But we won't hear it because they'll hide in the corner and say they're monitoring the situation through Ian Begley. Let's see who else we have. Our boy Nickinator. Evan, I want to know if he still wants to spit on everyone. Let's see. Ari from Manhattan said, great question, but I don't know what his answer was. So thanks for that, Ari.
He just wrote great question.
He just wrote great question. Great question,
Back.
period. Yes, that's great. Let's see. Our boy Leo Valentin said Quentin Grimes. So that's an interesting one. That's another player the Knicks have that needs to take a step. That's a good point. I don't know why you want to hear from him, but that's Lee. Great, good point.
I don't know if it was a good point.
Yeah, it was an average point. It's like the Knicks; they were like it was a middle of the pack point.
I thought Lee would have a better answer.
Our boy James Celestin, he's at Rebirth Chaos 09. Barrett, because I don't care for the others, especially Evan. Why is he on the team? It just really is crazy. Why is he still here? I know he's an expiring contract. You're going to try to add him into a deal, and I'm sure you can trade him by the middle of the season, but is he going to be a problem in the locker room? I don't know, because I think he's a good guy. I think he's legitimately friends with the other players on the team. I think he's just frustrated with the situation. Same thing with Derrick Rose last year. I mean, I'm sure Derrick Rose couldn't stand that they wasted a year of his career toward this late in the season, but you know what? He didn't play well. So it is what it is.
Knicks are very lucky. I will say this. They are so fucking lucky that Jalen Brunson's really good, because if they didn't have his dad on the coaching staff, this team would be fucked.
Yeah, they would be nowhere. Everybody would be fired. If Brunson wasn't great last year, the Cavs would have advanced with Donovan Mitchell, and the Knicks would have been nowhere. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen this year? That you can't expect everything to be the same. Things can happen. Someone can get hurt. I don't want to, God forbid, you know what I mean? But people can get hurt. Somebody could tear an ACL. Somebody could miss a big chunk of the season.
Yeah.
You know that very well, and it's just like things can happen and you might not be the same as last year. You know what I mean? Like things aren't always the same. The bad teams are not going to stay bad. Somebody's going to get better. The Hornets might be better. LaMelo could be healthy and take them on a ride. You know what I mean? You have no idea.
Ben Simmons could be great.
He could be. Like there's so many things that could happen. Like and just because last year, the Knicks were the 5th seed and they were what they were this year. Last year, it doesn't mean they're going to be the same team this year. It doesn't mean the Pacers are going to be it. Doesn't mean the Wizards are going to be it. Doesn't mean the Magic are going to be bad.
Washington's going to be horrible.
Oh yeah, that's right. They don't have Bradley Beal anymore. But just, you don't know if the Hawks are going to be a 500 team again. You don't know all of these teams. The Bulls might get healthy. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that could happen, or trades.
Of course.
Maybe Dame goes to Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe Dame. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you have these things. Like we a couple of years ago we were talking about it. Like the Ben Simmons thing is like hanging over the NBA. Is he going to get traded? You never know where he's going to go. And when we thought he was still good and just didn't want to play in Philly. It's right now it's the same thing with Dame. We don't know what's going to happen. Of course, the second we click publish, like you always say, Dame's going to get traded. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Always,
something's going to
never
happen.
Fails.
And you never know. So it's just be careful with thinking that the same thing's going to happen year to year, because you don't know.
You don't. I know my team won't win the title this year.
Yes, I would bet on that. Thank you. What's the Nets odds to win a championship? Let me see if I can find.
I guess the only way that they could win the title this year is Ben's amazing, right? He just gets amazing. Here's the scenario, Net fans. Ben gets amazing. Then there is a disgruntled star at the deadline that sees Bridges is taking a giant leap. Ben Simmons is unbelievable. It's like, I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happens. But that's probably not realistic, all of that. But that's how it happens.
It is, but you know what? It's not going to happen. I'm trying to find the odds, and it's very difficult.
All right, don't worry about it. It's
Whatever.
not good. The odds aren't good.
They're not.
DraftKings odds.
They're not.
Good luck. BWF.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. So I wouldn't bet on that. You want to
right.
throw $5 on it just for fun, and you never know. Just make a donation to DraftKings, and that's your choice.
All right, Alex. So we got media days next week. Did the Knicks speak at media days last year? Did they do that? The players speak last year?
The players,
or did they?
Oh, maybe they didn't. Oh no, they did because the Donovan Mitchell trade happened, and then they didn't talk to anybody for a month. So they let it die down because everybody was pissed. And then all of a sudden, at media day, they were back, or content day, whatever they call it, and they were back. And I don't want to be disrespectful. Content day,
I can't wait for
the
Knick
wrong
fans.
thing.
I can't wait for Knick fans to defend that they don't need the media. I love it's like my favorite thing in the world because I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's nothing tougher than playing in New York. There's nothing like it. It's the toughest town to play in, but we don't allow the media because they're very mean.
It's true. It's true. And that's when Knicks fans twist themselves into a pretzel and fall for the Knicks spin of like, we don't need this, and just defend everything they do. And that just drives me fucking crazy.
Me too, Alex. Me too, with your delusional fans.
Like, look at the Nets yesterday. Not to praise the Nets, which it hurts my soul, but like they're, the GM and the coach are talking yesterday.
But it's not.
Tips talked recently, I think, but like, I'm not hearing from the people that I need to hear from. Rosas is in charge now. Like, where the hell is he?
But Alex, this is not exactly. You're praising them for something that's shouldn't be praised.
Right. It's just standard operating procedure. Yes.
Like this, I don't know exactly what the Hawks are doing. I mean, the Nuggets, obviously, they'll have fun. They won a title, but I don't think the Nets are like one of 4 teams that do it. I think the Knicks are one of 32 that don't. Or how many teams? Right. Like 30. Like they just don't do it. So in your mind, you want to give them. Don't give the Nets credit for that. That's just standard operating procedure.
Right. Okay. The GMs don't need to talk every game like the coaches do, but you need to talk in the beginning of the season and maybe during the All-Star break and at the end of the year. You know what I mean? Like that's you have to talk to your fans. Give me something. And I'm not talking about the fluff pieces with the guys who work for the team, like an Alan Hahn or a Bill Pito. Like, don't give me that shit. Like, give me a real thing. And like, as much as I dislike, the reporters are kind of wishy-washy too, because guys like Bondi will sit there and trash the Knicks all year. Like, they don't talk to the media. They don't talk to the media. And then when they finally have a chance to talk to a coach or somebody, they don't ask like tougher questions or push back because they want to keep their sources. So that's why it's just a bunch of bullshit game and the relationships. And I get that because you know what, Stephen Bondi, as much as like a lot of Knicks fans don't like him, he's got a family to feed. He can't lose his sources with the Knicks because he's the team. Like, that's his job. But at the same time, don't fucking bullshit. Don't fucking like cry that you can't talk to these players or coaches. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a bunch of shit. And that's why podcasts are so important. And that's why podcasts by us and the other Knicks and Nets accounts like Fireside and all these other places. And like, they love it. And like, you know what I mean? Because fans want to hear honesty. Right. We're tired of the bullshit. Right. And that's it. Put me in a room with Leon Rose. Let's see what the fuck he says.
Yeah, I want to shit on Mark Berman, but he's got a mortgage. I understand that.
Well, he's retired now, and that's why he doesn't give a shit. He's from Florida, tweeting and dropping bombs on Knicks Twitter. It's hilarious. But he was one of those guys, and this is another way Knicks fans are wishy-washy. Everybody hated him when he was a Knicks beat reporter. Then he retires, like, oh man, I'll miss you. Like, what are you talking about? I can pull up 15 tweets from every Knicks account saying, oh my god, you're such a clown, and this and that. And it's just like, give me a break, man.
No Nick Friedel yesterday at the net press conference. So there was any of that.
Well, he's in Phoenix now, right? He's got to follow around Durant. I don't know.
Maybe I have no idea. It was funny. It was a very low key, not like remember like last.
You're a regular team now, Mike. You're back to normal. boring, but good, and like, all right. Just monitor some situations, Mike. Just monitor the situation.
This has been episode 188, where we are monitoring. This is a hard word for me to say, by the way. The situations, as I mentioned before in previous episodes, go ahead, give us a 5-star rating on Apple. If you've made it all the way this through to the podcast, you probably already have. So I should probably have done a better job saying that at the top of the show. Leave a comment. We appreciate it. We've had great interviews in the past. Guys like Tracy McGrady, Richard Jefferson, Chris Childs, Papa Left, Kerry Kittles, Ian Eagle, and Channing Frye. So we appreciate all you guys. Go ahead, check the archives out to listen to those episodes. Next week, Media Day, will break all of that down as we're about 28, 29 days away from opening night for the Knicks and for the Nets, Alex. So getting closer to it as the Jet season is unraveling. you now have your Knicks to look forward to. All right.
All right. At least we got the Giants. So you're good. You're chilling.
Yeah, I guess. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for listening. And Alex, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.